What is up, L's and J's? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I've got a discussion video for you. Dawn of Majesty is fully revealed, okay? And while I don't think it's a very good set, and I voiced that thoroughly, I do think that this card is actually a huge boom for the set. It's one of the huge boosters that even makes it close to like a decent set. And that is Swordmaster of the Bewitching Iris. This card is really, really good. And I think, I don't know, I kind of gave a quick reaction when it came out, but I've kind of had time to collect my thoughts, think more about it, and really talk about like the full scope of what this card has to offer. So where do we start? Let's go over its effects real quick. I've already done it in the review, but we might as well go over it real quick. We just won't spend too much time on the effect itself, at least reading it, and then we'll talk about everything going on here. So it's a level 8 spellcaster with 2500 attack, 2500 defense, light attribute, and its effects read as follows. During the main phase, if a monster whose effect is negated is on the field, that's all it takes for this. Special summon this card from the hand. Quick effect, not even during the main phase. This is standby phase, end phase, battle phase, any of that. Really cool. If your opponent special summons a monster or monsters, you can activate one of these effects depending on where that monster was summoned from. If they summon from the hand, then you can summon a monster from the hand. Okay, not the craziest thing in the world, but you know, could give you the ability to extend. If they summon from the deck, you can draw 2 cards. Pot of Greed, insane. And if they summon from the extra deck, you can destroy one of those monsters special summon from the extra deck. So that is destruction. That's also non-targeting. If somehow they're summoning more than one monster at a time from the extra deck, maybe pendulum summoning, you can activate this. They don't know which one you're going to summon, so that makes it tougher to play around, but still very, very cool. Obviously, you can only activate this effect once per turn. Funny that you can't use that you can use the summon effect more than once per turn. You just can only use the on-field effect once per turn. So very, very cool. Multiple copies isn't even necessarily dead. It's still an extender at that point and a big body. This card's great. Anyway, so now where I want to start is I want to start by talking about the card this most closely reminds me of, as far as generic. It is a hand trap, so like hand trap kind of cards. And I think the card we can most closely relate it to is Phantasme, Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Same kind of thing. Once you have a certain kind of setup, usually dependent on your opponent, but not always. We'll talk about that as well. It can come out of the hand. Then it does something, right? So he draws you cards, or he's a little bit more specific, right? He only draws you cards, whereas she gives you the potential to draw a card, summon from hand, or give disruption, which I like that. There's versatility there. But of course, it's still dependent on the opponent. Depends on what they want to do, what kind of deck they're playing, what it needs to do, even. And so that obviously changes things, but still very good. But I think overall, I like this new card more than Phantasme. One of the biggest reasons is her summon effect is not fully reliant on your opponent. Phantasme fully relies on your opponent playing a link strategy. She is just any monster on the field with its effects negated. That means you can summon something to the field with its effects negated, right? If any monster on the field is on the field with its effects negated, you can summon her. So keep that in mind. That is a huge factor of what makes her really good. So you can do something, and we'll talk about that. So a couple cards that really come to mind with that like really make this card like stand out in my brain is stuff like Tour Guide. Tour Guide summons something, but its effect is negated on the field. Boom. Tour Guide, summon, boom. Now this card can come out of the hand. But one thing to keep in mind, it's not just you, but your opponent. Your opponent could be playing Burning Abyss. Your opponent could be playing, I don't know, Lair of Darkness, anything that might be playing Tour Guide, and that makes this card live. But I do think this card becomes better if you're playing something yourself that can still make it live, obviously. Crystron Halqifibrax. A lot of decks play Halqifibrax. There's other Link monsters as well that do this. Something like Splash Mage comes to mind for like Cyburst decks. Something like, what is it? Raid Raptor Ystrix. That comes to mind. It's like a Halqifibrax-esque card for Darkwing Beast monsters. Those definitely fall in line. They negate monsters on the field. Very, very cool. And then you have stuff like Fleur de Lis. And what's really cool about stuff like this is that this is disruption in and of itself. So even if you're just playing a deck that disrupts your opponent by negating something on field. It has to be on field. Obviously, you can't just negate activations, but like if you're just playing a Dogmatica deck and you have it in hand, you can just fleur-de-lis your opponent, right, to negate something that's already disruption, and now she's live, so she can plop down, and if your opponent can extend into extract monsters, she's going to be able to punish them with another disruption, or if they want to summon from deck, you'll be able to draw 2 cards, just get a bunch of advantage, and go off from there. I think that's really, really good. Same thing with like World Legacy Secret, negating a bunch of cards over, like, you know what I mean, with that Floodgate-esque effect, and it's such an easy card to get access to in something like Pure Mech Knights, right? Then we can talk about generic cards, not even just built into your strategy's core, like what it wants to do into the engine and all that. You can talk about generic cards, Infinite Impermanence, Effect Veiler, Ghost Mourner, and Moonlit Chill, all cards that if you just pair them with that, it doesn't matter what your opponent's playing, doesn't matter what you're playing, you just hit them with that first, and then she's live. Now, you know, obviously you got to run the probabilities of drawing these with her, but I don't think you'd be playing her if the only thing you had in your deck to really make her live was relying on your opponent, one thing, and 2, like the hand traps. You'd want a little something extra to make her a little more live. And then there are other generic ones, like obviously those were hand traps, but there's also stuff like Ice Dragon's Prison. This isn't the best example because the only way it works with Ice Dragon's Prison is if you're not actually using the effect to banish 2 monsters from field. It's like if you just reborn something for your opponent, didn't banish, but its effects are negated. So now she's live, boom, works for me. And yeah, so like those are just the main things. It's like whether it's generic, whether it's built into your engine, obviously built into your engine is a little more reliable, right? Because you just like have multiple ways to search it out and all that stuff. That makes it a little bit better, but I still think just generically, this card's gonna come up so easily in so many ways. So the summon ability of it is just so cool. I love the way they designed this card. I love the fact that it relies on what your opponent's playing too, how good she's going to be. But I think the main thing that makes her like better than Phantasme all the way through and through, not just the fact that she's easier to summon because you can control it part of the, like most of the time, but also the fact that once she's on field, she gives you so much more value than Phantasme does. Like, yes, Phantasme's draw is very good, but it's a +1. Every time it's a +1. She, even if she just gets the draw 2 once, is a +2. And then she stays on the field. Her effect on field is just every turn, right? So you could summon her on your opponent's turn, even going second, like turn 1 going second, right? Maybe you draw 2 cards. Maybe you destroy and disrupt her, your opponent. Then on your turn, if they try to summon anything on your turn, right? We know IP Masquerena exists and some other cards, as well as some decks like can quick summon on your turn, right? Gives you some potential for that. Or you just leave her on field, and then when your opponent goes into their next turn, if you weren't able to OTK, if you can, great, she's another 2,500 body. We're not complaining about that. And then if it gets back to your opponent, she's another disruption, potentially another draw 2, potentially the ability to extend from hand. All those things just become like so crazy that they just like can pop out every single turn. Or if they won't pop out, it's usually because you're deterring your opponent from wanting to do those things, because they know they just lose if they let you draw 2 cards. You're just going to run away with advantage because they know they're just going to lose because of the way their hand is constructed. If they go into an extract monster and if it gets popped, they just kind of can't continue. They lose to that. So like, I just think this card is like insane. I cannot wait for it. Unfortunately, because this set is so bad, I think this may be one of the very few chase cards in the set. So it's probably going to be a secret rare. Might be $100 per copy. Would not be surprised at that. But I want to do a little more in-depth video talking about really what this card does, really what encompasses all the way through and through, and why I just think it's like Phantasme, but better. Not fully better, not in every situation, but I do think like all the way through and through. I think just the fact that it's not fully dependent on your opponent gives you more value once it's on the field. Other than just like a targeting protection effect. I think it's just incredibly strong, and it's not once per turn to summon itself. So you could have 3 of them in hand and just go plop, plop, plop once like the like potential for it opens up, and that's pretty cool too. I mean, that's 7,500 damage, so we gotta respect that. Just think this card's crazy. want to do a little bit more in depth of a video talking about more of what this card has, going for it. And yeah, that's going to do it for me here, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more in-depth discussions on like new cards when they come out. And let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think on this card? Do you think there's any specific factors of this card that I didn't touch on that you think might be worth noting? Let me know in the comment section down below. Do you think this card is better than I'm giving it credit for? Because I'm giving it a lot of goddamn credit. Or do you think it's worse? Do you think it's not as good as I'm talking it up to be? I don't know. Let me know down below. Just want to hear your thoughts on everything. But that's going to do it here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.